On a dark and cold night, there was a man named Ahmed who lived in a remote village. Ahmed always felt lonely after his wife's death and spent most of his nights reading old and strange books. One night, while Ahmed was sitting in his room reading a book about ancient legends, he heard a strange sound coming from outside. It sounded like footsteps on the dry leaves in his garden. Ahmed tried to ignore the sound and continue reading, but he couldn't. He stood up and looked out the window, but saw nothing. He returned to his book, but the sound repeated again, this time closer and louder. Ahmed felt uneasy, so he took his lantern and went outside to check the source of the sound. When he reached the garden, he found nothing but the strong wind blowing. As Ahmed was heading back to the house, he felt a cold hand touch his shoulder. He quickly turned around, but saw no one. He went back inside and tightly closed the door, but he couldn't shake off the feeling of fear. That night, Ahmed couldn't sleep. While he was lying in bed, he heard whispers coming from the dark corner of the room. He got up and pointed the lantern towards the corner, but he found nothing. The sound grew louder and closer. Suddenly, mysterious shadows appeared in front of him, moving around the room. Ahmed tried to escape, but the door was tightly shut and he couldn't open it. The shadows began to surround him, approaching him slowly. Ahmed felt extreme terror and couldn't breathe. The next morning, Ahmed's neighbors found his door open, but he was nowhere to be found inside the house. All that remained was his open book on the floor and some torn pages. Ahmed was never seen again after that night, and his story became one of the scary legends told in the village.